Welcome back, everyone. Returning listeners, you are so appreciated. I really do mean that. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. I appreciate it. Today's video, we will be discussing the first Black American FBI agents, James Wormley Jones and Sylvia Elizabeth Mathis. Let's kick it off by talking about Mr. Jones. James Wormley Jones was the first Black American FBI agent in the United States. Jones was born on September 22nd, 1884. I was about to say 1984. To John Bradford Jones and Sally Jones in Fort Monroe, Virginia. Jones had one sibling, a brother named Paul Jones. His family later moved to Cambridge, Massachusetts, where he spent his teen years. Jones returned to Virginia in 1902 to attend Norfolk Mission College in Norfolk, Virginia. He also attended Virginia Union University in Richmond, Virginia, where he completed his education in 1905. Jones began service with the Washington Metropolitan Police Department in January 1905. He rose from being a footman to a horseman, then a motorcycle policeman. His work resulted in him being promoted to detective. During his time, he and his wife, Ethel T. Peters Jones, became the parents of 3 children. Their son, John B. Jones, was born in 1910. Another son, Amos Jones, was born in 1911. Their daughter Mildred Theodora Jones was born in 1915. When the United States entered World War I in 1917, Jones enlisted in the United States Army. He trained to be an officer at the racially segregated officers training school at Fort Des Moines, Iowa. After his training was complete, 33-year-old Jones was commissioned a captain and assigned to Company F in the 368th Infantry Regiment, 92nd Division. Neither can I individualize respecting the magnificent valor of the men of the company led by Captain Jones and this engagement, which Secretary Baker himself praised. When the awful bombardment died away just as the gray streaks of early dawn pierced the night's blackness, which was made grayer by the thick, heavy fog, the captain ordered a charge over the top with fixed bayonets through the treacherous fog and into no man knew what or seemed to care. The first wave or detachment went over with a cheer, a triumph cheer, and the second wave followed their comrades with a dash. It may perhaps be the best to let these boys and officers tell with their lips of the terrific murderous shell, shrapnel gas, and machine gun fire that baptized them, only to make them more harder and intrepid warriors of how they contended each inch forth with marvelous valor, never for an instant faltering. Trench after trench of the enemy was entered and conquered. Dugout after dugout was successfully grenaded and made safer for the boys to follow. Wires were cut and communicating trenches explored. Machine gun nests were raided and silenced, and still the boys fought their way on. Of course, as a natural sequence to such a daring raid, there were casualties, but the black soldiers, heroes as they were, never flinched at death, and the wounded were too proud of their achievements even to murmur because of the pain they endured. Captain Jones and his men took over a mile of land and trenches which were for 4 years had been held by the Germans. The newspaper have given due and proper credit to the Americans for this daring raid, but the world has not been informed that it was the colored soldiers of America under Captain J. Wormley Jones, a former Washington, D.C. policeman, who made the charge that was as daring and more successful than the Tennyson and bomb charge of the Light Brigade. After World War I ended in 1919, Jones returned to his job as a Washington, D.C. police officer. During that time, he became an instructor with the 92nd Division School of Specialists. His work there resulted in his being promoted to a senior instructor. At the war's end in 1918, he resigned from his post and resumed his work at the Metropolitan Police. On November 19, 1919, wow, Jones was appointed as the first African American special agent by Bruce Balusky, who was then the director of the Bureau of Investigation. His work there was under the direct supervision of J. Edgar Hoover. Soon after he joined, the organization's name was changed to the Federal Bureau of Investigations and was headed by newly appointed director J. Edgar Hoover. Jones was assigned undercover work and charged with infiltrating radical black organizations. A serious side-eye gift inserted. Jones' first undercover assignment came in 1921 when he infiltrated the African Blood Brotherhood, a secret armed African American black liberation group headquartered in New York City and headed by Cyril Briggs. It is unclear the impact his infiltration of the group, since by the end of 1921 most of its members had been absorbed into the newly formed U.S. Communist Party while working with the FBI in New York City on the African Blood Brotherhood. Hoover assigned Jones to infiltrate Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association. Jones was given an FBI code number for his reports. He was known to Hoover and a select group of the FBI administrators as Agent 800. He knew that his clandestine role was not well concealed. During a March 1920 speech at the UNIA Liberty Hall, he took special pains to point out to the audience that he was true of African ancestry. Although he had the appearance of a person of Caucasian or European ancestry, nevertheless, he engendered the trust of the UNIA leadership to such an extent that he was able to gain responsibility for registering all incoming correspondence. His access to UNIA correspondence and his position as adjutant general in the African League was essential to enabling his information gathering activities. The information Jones provided the Bureau will help lead to the arrest of Garvey on mail fraud charges in January 1922. In August 1921, Jones began conducting similar surveillance on the African Blood Brotherhood. Eventually recognized as an ex-police officer, Jones was no longer an asset as the clandestine agent, and he resigned from the Bureau in April. God, Jesus. Much of Jones' life was shrouded in mystery. He was married, he has children, or had children, but not too much. There's not too much out there about the rest of him. Trust me, I searched and I didn't see too much. There were many sites that talked about him, but it was basically saying the same thing that multiple other sites said. Jones would die December 11th, 1958 in Dormont, Pennsylvania at the age of 74. A quick side note. When I was reading this story about Jones, it brought to mind a video I saw sometime last year or this year. It was about black FBI agents infiltrating black organizations. This pastor shared how black FBI agents told him that no black organization where black people are pro-liberation and rebuking ills of society regarding black America, and no black organization is immune to the FBI having black agents infiltrate them. The pastor said that the two black men who infiltrated his church became so convicted that they ended up exposing themselves and why they were sent there. When Jones was assigned to infiltrate those groups, it just brought to mind that video I saw. Be diligent, my friends, especially if you're talking about the showing and expressing the love that you have for your community and setting them free from all forms of oppression. Trust, they're checking you out deep. They're probably checking you out deeper than they're checking out known criminals. I'm talking about serious criminals in them streets. be diligent, friends. Next, let's discuss Sylvia Elizabeth Mathis, first black woman to become a FBI agent, female special agent. To the FBI, Mathis helped pave the way for future black American leaders like Johnny Gibson Bright, Cassandra Chandler, and Harrison, who dedicated themselves to protecting the nation even as they blazed a sometimes challenging trail in the FBI. At the time Sylvia Elizabeth Mathis set out to become the first black female agent, African American women were finally getting opportunities in many areas thanks to works by influential black female leaders like Rosa Parks, Fannie Lou Hamer, and Dorothy Height. In the FBI, women were gradually being integrated into the Bureau's agent ranks. Statistically, only about 40 of the 85,000 FBI agents were women. Did you hear those numbers? 40. I can't even wrap my mind about, I can't even process that. 40 compared to 85,000, that's like comparing an ant to an elephant. Do better, America. Many recruits, both men and women, were also not able to complete the arduous training that came with joining the service. At age 26, Mathis became the first black female agent, beginning her training at Quantico in February 1976. I can imagine what she went through. 1976 too? Whew. She was also the first female agent recruited in the state of North Carolina. At the time, only 41 agents out of the total of 8,500 in the country were women. Oh my. 41 agents out of 8,500 in the country. 8,500. Talk about being a little spot in the sea of white. And you know the majority of the 8,500, you already know what they look like. Let's be real with it. Quoted in February 7th, 1976 issue of Virginia Pilot newspaper, Mathis explained, "I am interested in delving into the relation of defending the rights and enforcement of rights. Going into the FBI seemed like a natural step. The 4-month training program entailed a variety of academic subjects and real-world practical exercises that candidates had to master, including being proficient in marksmanship. Many candidates, including 2 female black Americans who showed up at the FBI Academy years before Mathis, had not been able to complete the training. But 26-year-old Mathis did not disappoint when she showed up at the Virginia campus that housed the FBI Academy on February 17th, 1976 to begin the intense training program. Mathis was assigned to the New York office of the FBI, where she worked as a special agent and then as an advisor to the Office of Legal Counsel 1979 through 80. She then returned to Jacksonville, Florida to care for her parents in 1982. Accounts vary as to whether Mathis was a Florida or North Carolina native, but while the family may have had Durham connections, Jacksonville was where her parents had called home for many years, and Sylvia had attended Bishop Kennedy High School in the city. Born on July 7, 1949, and raised in North Carolina and Florida, Mathis showed dedication to service and family and chalked many successes while growing up. She earned a bachelor's degree in political science from New York University in 1972 and a Juris Doctor from the University of North Carolina School of Law in 1975. Her law school dean, who was a former FBI agent, later urged her to consider joining the FBI. Interested in the protection of the enforcement of rights, Mathis knew that entering the FBI wasn't out of place. In February 1976, she applied and was accepted. After 6 weeks of her training program, the FBI noted that even though she had some difficulty in the gym and on the range, she was working hard. At the end of it all, she excelled, making history as the FBI's first Black American female agent. On June 2nd, 1976, FBI Director Clarence Kelly presented Mathis with her badge and credentials, 2658, had a leather attaché case and an unadorned purse and a Smith & Wesson revolver with a snub-nosed barrel. She was assigned to the New York field office and worked on the organized crime squad investigating illegal gambling and extortion, sometimes working undercover. New York was known as Fear City at the time. Visitors were advised not to travel outside of Midtown Manhattan and stay indoors after dark. In the 70s and 80s, 5 families known as the Commission controlled Big Apple. The mafia aligned themselves with construction, the hauling and trash industry, and the Longshoremen Union. In December 1978, the biggest heist in American history at the time, the $6 million Lufthansa heist took place at John F. Kennedy International Airport, later inspiring Martin Scorsese Goodfellas. In addition to working on organized crime, Mathis interviewed survivors of the 1978 Jonestown Massacre. That used to, till this day, I cannot watch any documentaries, anything to do with that massacre, the Jonestown Massacre. It just creeps me out to such a level I don't even know what scale it is, but it's a high scale level, severe creepy level. Mathis interviewed survivors of the 1978 Jonestown Massacre after People's Temple founder Jim Jones led hundreds of followers in a mass murder-suicide at their agricultural commune in Guyana, South Africa. Mathis worked for the Bureau for 3 years, but the law was in her blood. In 1979, she accepted a role as a New York City attorney, then moved to Jacksonville, Florida in 1982 to be closer to her parents. She worked as the director of the Jacksonville Downtown Ecumenical Service Council, providing help to homeless and unemployed residents. In 1983, Sylvia's life was tragically cut short by a car accident at the age of 34. Shortly before her death, she was awarded Miss Metro by the Jacksonville weekly newspaper, The Metropolis. A volunteer who worked with Mathis was quoted in the October 19, 1983 issue of the paper that she was a very caring person and has given a lot of her time to those who need help. In a 1984 letter to the UNC publication University Report, law school professor James B. Craven III remembered that she was a rare and unforgettable student, that he was always proud of her and miss her now. Well, listeners, that will be the end of hearing about 2 incredible individuals who went out and accomplished things that most assumed were out of their reach. Some probably thought their aspirations were ludicrous. Anywho, one mind can't conceive the amounts of roadblocks they had to overcome to accomplish their desires. Much respect. Only thing that I didn't appreciate was the agency having Jones to infiltrate black organizations. Makes me wonder if that was one of the deciding factors in him being accepted. Of course, we would never know, and they would never admit it. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for liking, sharing, and commenting. And thank you to anyone who has become a new subscriber. Enjoy your day.